Arya then sat in the very last row of Horizon Peak Academy's largest classroom, a place where no teacher ever glanced and where no student ever bothered to sit. It was a perfect pocket of emptiness, and Arya liked it that way. She kept her bag on the seat beside her, not because she needed the extra space, but because it created the illusion that she existed just enough to claim the chair. The truth was, most students barely noticed she was there at all. Every morning, she entered the school building quietly, slipping between groups of chatting teenagers without ever brushing against them. The security drones hovering near the entrance flickered for the slightest second whenever she passed, as if unsure she was a real person, then corrected themselves and moved on. No one else seemed to notice the glitch. They never did. Arya spent her breaks under the old tree behind the gym. The leaves rustled the same way every day, and the sunlight fell in familiar broken patches over her shoes. She liked the routine of it. Predictable things, never asked questions, never looked deeper, never pulled memories she wanted to forget. Her whole life depended on staying quiet, small, and unnoticed. Her classmates assumed she was shy. Some thought she was boring. Others simply forgot she attended the school. Arya did not mind. The less attention she got, the better her life stayed. It was a delicate balance she had carefully shaped for years, but there were moments when something slipped. Moments when she could not hide how different she was. Once, in chemistry class, a heavy glass beaker slipped from a shelf. It should have shattered, but Arya moved before anyone else even realized it was falling. Her hand snapped out, catching the beaker in midair. She placed it back on the shelf and returned to her seat before the teacher turned around. A few students blinked in confusion, wondering what had happened. But the moment passed so quickly it felt like their minds brushed it aside. No one questioned it. Another time in the cafeteria, a tray stacked with plates toppled over beside her. The plates should have scattered everywhere, sending food splashing across the floor. Instead, the plates seemed to shift unnaturally in the air, landing neatly in a small pile just inches from her shoe. Arya kept walking without looking back, and the students nearby simply assumed they had missed it. Strange things always bent themselves around Arya, as if the world twisted slightly to keep her hidden. She did not understand why, and she never wanted to. Knowing led to remembering, and remembering led back to a time she refused to revisit. At school, she was safe, invisible. No one asked her anything more than the simplest questions. No one stared at her long enough to see the flicker of fear that flashed in her eyes when the past tried to claw its way into her thoughts. But everything changed the day the new transfer student arrived. It happened on a Tuesday morning, a gray day with soft rain hanging in the air like a quiet curtain. Arya walked through the main doors as she always did. The security drones buzzed, hesitated, then recovered, flickering as she passed. She moved through the hallway toward her classroom, when she felt something she had not felt in years. A gaze, not a casual look. Not someone's eyes sliding past her. This one was sharp, steady, and aware. It cut straight through the space around her, landing on her like a pin striking a delicate surface. Arya kept her steps even. But inside her ribs something tightened. The new student stood by the office door. He had sharp eyes, the kind that scanned everything like a soldier assessing a battlefield. His posture was too straight for a normal teenager, his steps too controlled. When he looked at her, Arya felt the old alarms she had buried deep inside her pulse, awake for the first time in years. She lowered her head and walked faster, hoping he would lose interest. But the feeling of being watched lingered inside the classroom. Arya sat in her usual back row seat. The room filled slowly with the usual chatter and noise, none of which touched her. She opened her notebook and pretended to review yesterday's notes. Though her eyes never moved across the page, then the classroom fell silent. The teacher entered with the new student behind him. "This is Cade Solis," the teacher said. "He's transferring here, so I hope you'll all help him feel welcome." Students murmured polite greetings. Cade nodded once. His eyes swept the room, mapping every desk, every face. When his gaze passed over Arya, it paused. She kept her head down. But she felt it again, that sharp and questioning attention. "You can sit wherever you'd like," the teacher said. Cade walked slowly down the row, scanning each desk as if searching for something specific. Arya's breath caught when his steps drew closer to her corner. No one ever chose the back row. No one ever chose to sit near her. It felt like a rule the school followed without speaking. Cade stopped beside her row. "This seat taken?" he asked. His voice was calm and even, but Arya heard something else in it: curiosity, focus, maybe even recognition. She forced herself to look up just enough to see his face. He stood tall, with dark hair and serious eyes that seemed too experienced for someone his age. She shook her head. No, he sat down beside her. Arya stared at her notebook, her heart beating too fast. She wasn't used to someone noticing her. She wasn't used to someone choosing to sit near her. It unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. The teacher began the lesson, but Arya could not hear the words. All she heard was the soft scrape of Cade's pencil, the controlled rhythm of his breathing, the faint hum of technology that seemed to surround him. It wasn't normal. Nothing about him felt normal. Halfway through class, the lights flickered. It happened often when Arya was anxious, but she forced herself to stay calm. The lights steadied after a moment. She glanced around to see if anyone noticed. Cade noticed. His eyes flicked to the lights, then to her. And instead of looking confused, he looked thoughtful. She turned her gaze away immediately when the lunch bell rang. Arya packed up her things as quickly as she could. She waited until most students left before standing. But Cade remained seated, watching her with a quiet intensity. "You avoid people," he said simply. Arya froze. She kept her voice low. "I like being alone." Cade nodded slightly. "Most people don't hide that well." Her breath hitched. "I'm not hiding." He didn't argue. He just studied her for another moment, then stood and walked out of the classroom. Arya's hands trembled. She hated that he could see through her so quickly. She hated that her quiet world was being disturbed. At lunch, she sat under the tree behind the gym again. The wind blew softly, carrying the smell of rain. She tried to focus on her sandwich, but her mind kept replaying that intense gaze. Why did he look at her like he knew something? Why did something deep inside her whisper that danger was closer than it had been in years? She closed her eyes, trying to calm herself. Just stay invisible. Stay quiet. Stay small. But as she sat there, she felt the strange pull of the world shifting around her. Like a quiet signal she wasn't supposed to hear but could not ignore, something was coming. Something she had run from for a long time, and for the first time in years. Arya felt a crack in the safety she had built. The past she worked so hard to bury trembled beneath her skin. Threatening to rise again, she didn't know when everything would change. But deep down, she knew it had already begun. Rain fell harder as the school day continued, tapping against windows like a steady warning. Arya then sat in the back of her next class, her hands folded neatly, her eyes down as always. But inside her, something restless moved. Ever since the new transfer student had arrived, the quiet space she protected so carefully felt shaken. Cade. Soulless. The name repeated in her mind even when she tried to push it away. She sensed something about him that she could not explain. Something cold and sharp hidden beneath his calm expression. Most students saw him as the mysterious new boy. Arya saw something else. She felt a ton of awareness she wished she didn't feel. During class, she kept her head lowered, hoping to blend into the background again. But the strange sense of being watched returned. She did not have to look up to know who it was. Cade sat 2 rows ahead, but every few minutes he would glance back. Not the curious glance of a classmate. His eyes studied the room with purpose, and each time they reached her, she felt a faint pressure in the air. Like he was trying to read something she didn't want anyone to see. She had worked so hard to stay invisible. Why was he looking at her? Why now? The teacher continued the lesson, unaware of anything unusual. Students passed notes, whispered jokes, and tapped on their desks. Life moved as normal, but Arya felt anything but normal. When the bell rang, she waited for everyone to leave before gathering her notebook. But as she stepped into the hallway, she found Cade leaning against the wall, arms folded, eyes scanning the passing crowd. His gaze landed on her immediately. She turned to walk in the opposite direction. "Arya," he said quietly. She froze. Hardly anyone ever said her name out loud. Some classmates didn't even know it. "How do you know my name?" she asked without turning. "You're on the attendance list," he said with a shrug. "But the teacher didn't call it this morning." Arya's heart skipped. Teachers often forgot to mark her present. Sometimes they forgot she was enrolled. But hearing someone else point it out felt wrong, like he had been paying attention to something she tried to hide. "It's nothing," she murmured. Walking away, Cade didn't follow, but she knew this wouldn't be the last time he spoke to her. Something about his presence pressed against her mind like a quiet alarm. She moved through the hall faster, feeling eyes on her back. Not his. Someone else's. Something else's. A strange hum began in the ceiling lights. Students didn't seem to hear it, but Arya's steps slowed. The lights flickered. Once, twice, then steadied. Her chest tightened. No, not here. Not again. She kept walking until she reached the stairwell. As she descended, the hum faded. Maybe it was her imagination. Maybe her nerves were playing tricks. She had spent years hiding from memories, from the truth buried so deeply she barely remembered it herself. But she knew one thing for certain. Something was wrong. When the lunch break arrived, Arya went to her usual spot behind the gym. The tree branches above her swayed in the wind. The rain slowed to a drizzle, leaving the ground wet and shining. She sat down and opened her lunch, though she didn't feel like eating. She stared at her hands instead, remembering the way the lights trembled earlier. They only reacted like that when her emotions lost control. When fear or stress cracked through the calm she forced herself to maintain. This only happened when danger was near. But what danger? She had lived quietly for years. No one knew her past. No one cared enough to ask. She took a slow breath, trying to steady her thoughts. Then a loud crash echoed from the front of the gym. Arya jumped to her feet, heart pounding. She peeked around the corner and saw a group of students gathering near the entrance, murmuring. "What happened?" someone asked. "A drone fell out of the sky," another replied. Arya's stomach twisted. She moved closer, pushing through the small crowd. A campus security drone lay on the ground, sparks flickering from its broken shell. It wasn't just a malfunction. Its metal casing looked crushed, as if something heavy slammed it down. The teacher asked students to step back, but Arya stood frozen. The drone scanners were designed to detect threats. Plane malfunctions didn't happen like this. Not so suddenly. Not so violently. Her breath shook. No, not now. Not again. As she backed away, she collided with someone. She looked up sharply. Cade. He studied her expression with unsettling focus. "You seem nervous," he said. "I'm not," she replied quickly. "You are." His voice was steady, almost to calm. "Drones don't fall like that," he said. Something brought it down. Arya swallowed hard. "You're overthinking." His eyes narrowed. "Maybe, but I don't think you are." She stepped back, needing space. He watched her as if he already knew she would run. "Arya," he said softly, "did you notice anything strange before it happened?" She shook her head. No, he didn't believe her. But before he could ask anything else, the school intercom crackled. "Students, please remain indoors. We are experiencing a city-wide technology disruption. Dismissal may be delayed." The announcement ended with static. Students groaned, annoyed. Teachers looked confused. But Arya felt cold fear crawl down her spine. A city-wide disruption? This wasn't random. She knew it wasn't. She grabbed her bag and hurried away from the crowd, trying to push through the sudden panic in her chest. As she reached the empty hallway near the back exit, she stopped suddenly. A deep vibration rumbled through the floor. Then the school lights flickered again, this time more violently. One light burst, showering sparks. The hallway darkened. Arya backed up, her breath coming fast. Footsteps sounded behind her. She spun around. Cade stood several meters away, watching her carefully. "Leave me alone," she said, her voice shaking despite her effort to sound firm. "I can't," he replied. "What do you want?" He stepped closer. Answers. Arya's pulse hammered. I don't have any for you. You do? He said calmly. You feel the disruption, don't you? You sensed it before it started. She stepped back. That's not true. His eyes sharpened. Yes, it is. Another vibration rolled through the building. A thin crack formed along the ceiling tiles. Cade's voice lowered. Arya, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because someone like you disappeared 10 years ago. Someone special. Someone dangerous. Her heart froze. No, not that name. Not that memory. I don't know what you're talking about, she whispered. Cade studied her face, then spoke words that made her knees weaken. I think your Project Prophet. The hallway went silent. Arya's breath caught in her throat. That name belonged to a past she had buried so deep she pretended it never existed. A past filled with fear, pain, and experiments she didn't want to remember. You're wrong, she said. I'm nobody. But Cade shook his head slowly. No, you're something much more. Before she could respond, the school alarm blared. Not the fire alarm. Not the lockdown alarm. A warning. Tone no school had ever programmed. A piercing, echoing signal shaking through the walls. Then came the voice. A voice that wasn't human. Target found. Extract immediately. Arya's blood turned cold. No, they found her. A deafening crash echoed as the back wall of the school exploded inward. Dust and debris filled the air. Students screamed from distant hallways. Through the smoke, dark shapes emerged, tall armored figures with glowing blue visors. Their movement was cold and precise. Vora. Alien hunters. They had come for her. Arya stepped back instinctively, her body trembling. Not again. She couldn't go through this again. Cade grabbed her arm. Arya, move! But her feet refused to respond. One of the armored figures raised a weapon. A bright, pulsing sphere of energy formed at its tip. Arya squeezed her eyes shut. The world slowed. Every sound stretched. Every heartbeat thundered. The air thickened. Around her, like invisible pressure. Then something inside her snapped. Her eyes opened. The weapon fired. Arya moved. Not like a human. Faster, sharper. She grabbed Cade's arm and pulled him. Down as the blast sailed over them. Shattering the ceiling behind, Cade stared at her, stunned. Arya didn't wait. She stepped forward, her body shifting with movements she hadn't used in years. Movements she never wanted to use again. But she had no choice. The alien soldier charged. Arya swung her arm. A shockwave exploded from her hand, slamming into the creature's chest and sending it crashing through the lockers. Silence followed. Cade's eyes widened. Arya, but she didn't hear him. Her heart pounded with fear and adrenaline. Her hands shook. She had revealed everything she'd tried so hard to hide, and the Vorath were still coming. Arya looked at Cade, her eyes filled with fear. This is why I hide. This is why I stay invisible. More armored figures. Stepped through the broken wall. Arya took a trembling breath. She could not run. Anymore, her past had finally found her. Dust filled the hallway as the Vorath soldiers advanced. Arya stood frozen for one long second, her heart beating fast and painful in her chest. She had never wanted this. She had never wanted her past to return, never wanted to be anything more than a quiet girl no one noticed. But the moment she used her abilities, everything she worked so hard to hide shattered. Cade stepped beside her, pulling her back a little. His voice was calm, but she heard the tension in it. Arya, we need to move. Now. Her mind raced. She didn't know where to run. She didn't know how many hunters were inside the school. The air smelled of dust and smoke. Students screamed from far hallways. Somewhere, the alarm continued its sharp cry. One of the Vorath soldiers pointed at her. Target confirmed. Capture alive. Cold shiver ran through Arya. They didn't want to kill her. They wanted to take her back to the place she escaped. The memories hit her like sharp glass. A white room, cold metal tables, harsh voices calling her by a number, not a name, machines humming as needles pierced her skin, the fear, the loneliness. She shook her head hard, trying to push the memories away. Another alien soldier charged. Arya reacted without thinking. Her hand snapped up, and a shockwave rippled through the air. The alien flew backward, crashing into the broken doorway. Cade stared at her, wide-eyed. You weren't supposed to be alive. She didn't answer. She didn't know how. More soldiers filled the hallway. Arya grabbed Cade's arm and pulled him behind her. They moved quickly, running through the broken hall as the Voroth fired energy blasts. Each blast hit the walls around them, exploding lockers and sending sparks into the air. Arya pushed through the fear and focused on the path ahead. She didn't have a plan. She was only trying to survive. They reached a stairwell. Arya slammed the door shut behind them. But she knew it wouldn't hold. Cade leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Your Project Prophet. I knew it. I knew someone like you still existed. Arya looked at him with panic in her eyes. Don't say that name. You lived through the experiment, he said softly. They said all the children were gone. They said the program ended after the revolt. But I always believed someone escaped. Arya stepped away from him. She didn't want to remember. She didn't want to hear the word prophet again. Cade continued, his voice steady, but full of pressure. The Varath wouldn't attack a school unless they found what they were hunting. And they're hunting you. Arya shook her head. I didn't want this. I didn't want to be anything special. I just wanted to live quietly. A crash echoed on the other side of the stairwell door. The metal bent inward. Cade moved closer. Arya, you can't outrun this anymore. You need to remember what you are capable of. Her hands trembled. I don't want to remember. You have to, or we won't survive. The door broke open. A Voroth soldier stepped through. Arya raised her hand on instinct. A burst of force shot out, hitting the soldier and knocking him down the stairs. Cade grabbed her wrist and pulled her up the steps. They reached the second floor and entered a dark hallway. The power flickered again, leaving only dim emergency lights glowing. X read along the sides. Arya tried to calm her breathing. It felt like the walls were closing in. Her past was wrapping around her like chains she thought she broke years ago. She leaned against the wall. They can't take me. I won't go back. Cade faced her. I won't let them. She stared at him. Why do you care? You don't even know me. His expression tightened. I didn't come here as a student. I came here as an operative. My mission was to find Project Prophet. But now that I've found you, I'm changing the mission. Arya stepped back, fear growing again. You're not taking me anywhere. Cade raised his hands. I'm not your enemy. I'm here to protect you. Another blast shook the building. The floor trembled. Cade grabbed her hand. We need to get out of the school. There's a service exit through the science wing. Arya nodded. Even though her whole body trembled, they began to run again. The hallways were filled with smoke and scattered debris. Students hid under desks, behind counters, anywhere they could. Teachers tried to lead them to safer rooms, shouting for calm. But no one could calm the fear shaking the building as Arya and Cade ran past the classrooms. Arya caught glimpses of terrified faces. For the first time, she realized something important. She wasn't invisible anymore. People saw her. People looked at her. And the Voroth were tearing the school apart because of her. Guilt tightened her chest. It's my fault, she whispered. Cade didn't slow. No, it's not. The Voroth made this choice. Not you. They reached the science wing. The hallway there was quieter, but the lights were completely out. Leaving only the red emergency glow, Arya felt something shift in the air. It was a familiar feeling. A pressure. A pulse. She stopped. They're close. Cade looked around sharply. How close? She didn't know how she sensed them, but she had always been able to. Back in the facility, she could feel the energy fields of the alien machines even before they entered a room. They're here, Arya whispered. A shadow moved at the end of the hallway. Cade reached behind his jacket and pulled out something. Smaller, compact weapon, dark and sleek. Arya's eyes widened. You brought a gun to school? I wasn't expecting to use it, he said in a tight voice. But I came prepared. 3 Vorath soldiers stepped out of the darkness. Cade fired once. The blast hit one soldier in the chest, stunning him, but barely slowing him down. The aliens advanced, raising their weapons. Arya didn't think. She stepped forward, her fear melting into something sharper, something she tried to forget. Her eyes locked on the nearest alien. A pulse of energy surged through her body. Humming along her skin, she raised her hand. A wave of force exploded outward. The soldiers hit the walls, fell to the floor. Their armor dented. Cade stared at her in shock. Arya? You're stronger than the report said. Arya didn't respond. She felt dizzy. Using her powers always burned her energy quickly, but she had no time to rest. Cade helped her stand. Come on. The exit is ahead. They moved quickly, passing through the last hallway leading to the service door. The door was half open, letting in cold air and rain. Freedom was just a few steps away, but as they approached, Arya stopped again. A shadow blocked the doorway. A taller figure stepped into the hallway. Not like the others. Its armor was black with red markings. Its visor glowed brighter. The leader, the Vorath commander. Arya froze, her breath catching in her throat. The commander looked straight at her. We have searched for you for 10 years, Prophet. You belong to us. Arya felt herself shaking. I don't belong to you. You were made for war, the alien said. You were made to serve. Arya stepped back. No. The commander moved forward slowly, almost gently, like a hunter cornering prey. Come quietly, and the others will live. Cade stepped in front of her. She's not going anywhere with you. The alien tilted its head. Move, human. Cade didn't move. The commander struck him with the back of its arm. Cade flew across the hallway and crashed into the wall. Cade. Arya cried. She ran to him, dropping to her knees. He groaned, struggling to sit up. Arya. Run, he whispered. She shook her head. I won't leave you. The alien commander stepped closer. Arya felt something rising inside her. Not fear, not panic, something deeper. Her memories rose like broken glass. Her childhood in the facility, experiments, the pain, the escape. The silent promise she made to herself. She would never be a weapon again, but she would fight. Arya stood slowly, her hands trembling with energy. The commander paused. Sensing the shift, you cannot win, it said. Arya's voice was quiet. I don't need to win. I just need to protect. Energy pulsed around her, bright and humming. The commander aimed its weapon. Arya raised both hands. A massive wave of power exploded outward. Slamming into the commander with force strong enough to crack the floor, the alien smashed into the wall. Armor breaking, Arya fell to her knees, exhausted. Cade crawled to her side, helping her sit up. You did it. No, she whispered. They're not finished. They won't stop. Cade nodded. Then we'll run now. While we have the chance. Rain poured outside the door. Arya stood shakily, leaning on him. Together, they stepped into the storm. Leaving the broken school behind, the world was no longer safe. Arya's past was no longer hidden, and the hunt had only begun. The news of Alara's powers spread through the academy like a spark in dry grass. Though the teachers tried to keep it quiet, students whispered about the girl who was once invisible in the halls, and now carried the weight of an entire planet on her shoulders. But Alara ignored the attention. She trained every day, pushing her body and mind with a seriousness that made even the toughest cadets step aside. She knew the battles ahead would not be won with power alone. She needed control. General. Kale watched her from a distance during most training sessions, giving advice only when her movements grew too wild. He understood what she was facing. Power like hers was rare, but the trauma of a buried past made it unstable. She needed balance, not pressure. The training fields of the academy spread far and wide, open grounds. Simulation domes, gravity chambers, and obstacle zones. Ilara spent hours in each one, learning how to stabilize the strange energy inside her. She learned to project shields without losing consciousness, detect enemy signals before they appeared on scanners, even manipulate certain frequencies that allowed her to sense hidden threats. Her body adapted quickly, strengthened by the force she had denied for so long. But with each new ability came new memories. Flashbacks of her childhood, the night her parents disappeared and the fire that swallowed their home. She remembered shadows, screams, and a strange blue light that she only now understood had come from her own hands. Amara, meanwhile, stayed close to her after school hours, helping in ways emotional support could only provide. They sat together during meals, and Amara told stories about her own tiny adventures, losing a shoe during a race, accidentally setting the chemistry lab on fire, or hiding from cleaning drones that mistook her for trash. Ilara laughed quietly, letting the warmth of friendship anchor her. But the more Ilara grew stronger, the more clearly she sensed something watching her. One night, unable to sleep, Ilara walked toward the outer edge of the academy grounds. The moonlight was soft, and the wind carried a chill as she wrapped her arms around herself. She stopped near the practice field, feeling a pulse in her chest, the strange energy inside her reacting to something nearby. "Show yourself," she whispered. Though she did not know why, the shadows in front of her thickened, swirling like smoke. Her pulse quickened, and she dropped into a defensive stance. A tall figure stepped forward, wearing sleek armor that reflected the moonlight. A man's voice echoed softly from the helmet. "So the rumors are true," Ilara tensed. "Who are you?" The visor lifted, revealing a scarred face and cold silver eyes. "My name is Varen. I've been searching for you for a long time." Lara felt a shiver crawl up her spine. "Why?" Varen took a slow step, not threatening, but purposeful. "Because you are not just a girl with strange powers. You are the last living heir of the Aetherian bloodline." The words meant nothing to her. "I don't know what that is. Your parents hid you for a reason. They were hunted, Ilara, and now that your powers have awakened, the ones who destroyed your family will come for you again." Pain flashed across her memory. Fire, screams, the blue light. She clenched her fists. "If you know anything, tell me. Who killed my parents?" Varen's eyes darkened. "A faction known as the Dominion. They believe your bloodline holds the key to controlling a limitless power. If you fall into their hands, they will use you to bring every planet under their rule." Ilara's breath caught. Her heart threatened to collapse under the weight of his words. "Why should I trust you?" she whispered. "Because," he said quietly, "I once served them until I learned what they planned to do with you." Before she could respond, a sharp alarm rang across the academy grounds. Red lights flared along the perimeter walls. Ilara jerked her head toward. The sky enemy ships streaked through the clouds like falling stars. "They found you," Varen hissed. Ilara felt a spike of fear fast. Cold, electric, General Kale stormed out with a group of soldiers. "Ilara, get inside the fortress now." But the ground trembled violently. Explosions erupted at the far edge of the academy. Students screamed as drones descended, firing beams of red energy. Amara rushed toward Ilara, breathless. "Ilara, we need to run. Come on." Ilara grabbed her hand. "Stay behind me." The power inside her burst awake like a storm. Blue light rippled across her skin as she pulled Amara close. A drone fired directly at them, but the beam shattered against an invisible shield that formed around her. Amara froze, eyes wide. You're glowing." Ilara didn't answer. She stepped forward, raising her hand on instinct. A pulse of blue energy shot from her palm, slicing through the drone in a single strike. General Kale stared in shock. He had seen glimpses of her ability, but not like this. Varen approached him quickly. "General, she's the only one who can block their energy attacks. We must use her." Kale hesitated. "I don't trust you." "You don't have to trust me," Varen said. "But if she doesn't stand with us right now, this academy will fall within minutes." Kale looked at Ilara, really looked. Her eyes burned with determination, fear, and something deeper. She was no longer the quiet student who hid in the back of classrooms. "Ilara," he said firmly, "can you handle this?" She turned to the sky where more drones arrived. She swallowed hard. "I have to." Kale nodded. Then we fight." The academy grounds exploded into chaos. Students were rushed into bunkers. Soldiers formed defensive lines. Energy beams lit up the night sky. Elara sprinted forward, Varen close behind her. She unleashed blasts of blue light, destroying drones before they reached the soldiers. Her body moved with instinctive precision, each step guided by the strange power within her. But the Dominion forces didn't stop. Larger ships descended, dropping armored troops onto the battlefield. The ground shook as they advanced. "Elara, on your left," Kale shouted. She spun, raising a barrier just in time to block a heavy strike. The impact sent her sliding backward, but she pushed forward again, launching a powerful blast that threw the attacker off his feet. Her energy flickered too fast. "It's too strong. Elara, pace yourself." Varen yelled. "I can't," she snapped. "There are too many." Amara watched from behind a barricade, worry twisting her face. She could see Elara burning through her strength. Another explosion ripped through the training field, sending debris flying. Elara shielded 2 soldiers, but the effort drained her further. She gasped, dropping to one knee. Varen grabbed her shoulder. "Your power is reacting to fear. Slow your breath, focus." "I'm trying," she whispered. But then something even darker appeared. A massive ship descended from the clouds. It's larger than anything they had seen. Its engines rumbled like thunder. A cold voice echoed through the sky. "Elara Etherin," it announced. "Surrender, and your friends will be spared." Lara's pulse stopped. They knew her name. She rose slowly, breathing hard, eyes glowing like flames. "No," she said, voice steady. "I'm done running." Her energy burst outward in a brilliant wave, lighting up the entire battlefield in blue. Soldiers and drones staggered, blinded by the sudden brilliance. Kale stared in awe. Varen's eyes widened. Amara whispered, "Elara." The battlefield held still for a heartbeat. Then everything erupted into chaos once more, and Elara stepped forward to face the enemy that had destroyed her past. The battlefield was still shaking from the last explosion when Elara stepped forward. The blue light around her pulsed gently, like a heartbeat trying to steady itself. Smoke rose into the night sky, mixing with the glow of enemy ships as they circled overhead. The giant vessel that had called her name hovered like a dark moon, silent and watching. She stood between the academy and the advancing Dominion forces, breathing hard but refusing to step back. Every muscle in her body trembled, yet the fire inside her refused to fade. She had spent years hiding, pretending she was nothing, trying to convince herself that the strange power she felt was only imagination. But now there was no room left to hide. Behind her, soldiers regrouped, helping the injured away from the field. Amara stayed behind a broken barricade, eyes locked on Elara with a mixture of fear and pride. General Kale barked orders to the defense units, keeping them from panicking. Varen stayed at Elara's side, scanning the enemy formations. "They're preparing for a ground strike," he said. "That ship is carrying a commander. They won't leave without you." Elara swallowed, her hands shaking. "Then I'll make sure they fail." Varen glanced at her, his expression unreadable. "This won't be easy. Their commander will be stronger than the others. They'll try to break your mind before your body." Elara clenched her fists. "They already tried that when they took my parents." The ground rumbled again as a bright column of red energy shot down from the enemy ship. Soldiers instinctively ducked, shielding their heads. The beam faded, revealing a tall figure stepping forward from the smoke, the Dominion commander. He wore heavy armor engraved with dark symbols, and a long cloak that moved even without wind. His face was covered by a black helmet with a glowing red visor that tracked every movement around him. When he spoke, his voice echoed unnaturally. "Elara Etherin." At last Elara's heart pounded painfully in her chest, but she refused to look away. "Why did you kill my parents?" "They refused to hand you over," the commander replied. "They believed you were something to protect. But you are not a child, Elara. You are a weapon. And weapons belong to those who can use them." Anger surged through her body, hot and sharp. "You're wrong." The commander stepped forward, each foot leaving a heavy mark in the dirt. Your bloodline was created to reshape the galaxy. The Ethereans were born with a power not meant for simple living. You were destined to rule, not hide in an academy pretending to be ordinary. Lara's breathing grew uneven. The blue glow around her flickered, reacting to her emotions. Behind her, Kale shouted, "Alara, don't listen to him. He wants to provoke you." Varen stepped closer. "Focus. You control your power, not him." The commander raised a hand. A wave of red energy shot toward her. Ilara reacted instantly. A bright blue barrier appeared, cracking under the force but holding strong. The air exploded with heat, pushing soldiers backward. When the blast ended, Lara pushed forward, sending a stream of blue light toward the commander. He deflected it effortlessly with a sweep of his hand. "You are strong," he said calmly, "but untrained. Your power burns too bright." Lara launched another attack, faster this time. The commander blocked it again, stepping closer. "You will exhaust yourself before you touch me. Surrender now." "No," she whispered, forcing more power into her hands. The commander suddenly thrust out his arm, releasing a shockwave that slammed into her. The force threw her backward. She crashed onto the ground, the world spinning around her. "Alara!" Amara screamed. General Kale ran forward with 2 soldiers, firing at the commander, but their attacks bounced off his armor like dust. Alara pushed herself up, gasping, her vision blurred. The commander approached slowly, confident. "Your parents died believing you could escape your fate. They were wrong. You belong to the Dominion." Ilara felt something break inside her, not her bones, but the last fragile pieces of fear. She stood, swaying slightly. "My parents didn't hide me because I was a weapon. They hid me because I am more than that." The commander paused. Eller took a deep breath. "I choose who I become." Her body erupted in brilliant light. Blue energy surged around her, brighter than any before. The air vibrated. The ground cracked beneath her feet. Varen shielded his eyes. "She's unlocking her full potential. This is dangerous." Kale yelled, "Everyone fall back! Now!" Students and soldiers retreated to safety as Alara floated a few inches above the ground, the energy surrounding her taking shape like wings of light. The commander raised his arms defensively. But Alara was already moving. She dashed forward with a speed that left blue streaks in the air. Her first strike shattered his shield. The second cracked his armor. The commander staggered, stunned. "You cannot control that power," he roared. Ilara's voice was steady. "Watch me." She raised her hands, gathering all her strength into one final burst. The blue light blazed brighter and brighter until the entire battlefield lit up. Like daylight, then she released it. A massive wave of energy exploded outward, engulfing the commander and lifting him off the ground. The force shattered the front lines of the Dominion troops, sending drones crashing into each other. The giant ship above trembled, its shields flickering wildly. When the light finally faded, the commander lay motionless on the ground, his armor cracked, his visor completely shattered. Ilara collapsed onto her knees, exhausted. The blue light around her dimmed to a soft glow. Kale rushed to her side. "Alara, can you hear me?" She nodded weakly. "I'm okay. Just tired." Varen looked at the fallen commander, then at the retreating enemy ships. "They're pulling back." "You defeated him." Amara sprinted to Alara and dropped beside her, crying with relief. "You did it." "I knew you would." Ilara smiled softly. "I wasn't alone." The remaining Dominion forces retreated into the sky, disappearing beyond the clouds. The battlefield grew quiet. Broken drones lay scattered, smoke rising in thin trails. The academy buildings were damaged, but still standing. Students slowly emerged from the bunkers, eyes wide in awe. General Kale helped Alara to her feet. "You saved us all," he said, his voice filled with respect. Alara shook her head gently. "I protected my home. That's all I wanted." Varen stepped forward. "The Dominion will not stop, but now they know you are not a child they can hunt. You are a force they fear." Lara looked at him, then at her friends, her academy, and the sky where the enemy had vanished. For years, I wanted to be invisible, she said softly, but not anymore. Mara squeezed her hand. Good, because the galaxy needs you. Elara smiled, a real smile, warm and steady. For the first time, she felt like she belonged somewhere other than her past. She turned toward the academy. Let's go home. The night air was cold, but her heart felt warm. Students ran forward to greet her, not with fear, but with gratitude. Teachers nodded with pride. The quiet girl who once walked unnoticed through the halls was now the protector of their world, and though she knew more battles would come, Elara also knew she was no longer alone. Her friends, her strength, and her choices would guide her, invisible no more. She stepped into her new future, strong, free, and unstoppable.